while enjoying India's Independence Day on my morning walk, I was just thinking about the countries that got independent after the Second World War and how they are doing. Now, though the communists and the capitalists were fighting the Nazis together, it was painfully obvious that they will be fighting each other immediately after the war was over. United States was very sympathetic to the independence aspiration of the Asian and African countries because US herself was a colony before and very freedom loving. In fact, they had bluntly warned Britain that not one American dollar or one American bullet can be used to further the colonial rule in Asia. Now, I'm not saying anything to glorify the horrific human rights abuses by the Imperial Japan in the Second World War, but just thinking in terms of race. I mean, Japan defeated this colonial European powers so easily, who had an aura of invincibility about them. Japan hounded out Netherlands out of Indonesia in a matter of hours. In 1914, they had slayed the Russian giant by defeating them on both land and on sea. 85,000 fighting British soldiers surrendered without putting up a fight in Singapore. So Japan demonstrated that Asiatic powers, if they match Europeans in technology, European powers, far from being invincible, are very, very easy to beat. So immediately after the Second World War was over, European powers obviously wanted their colonial empires back. They wanted protected markets for their finished goods. And Asian powers said, wait a minute, means you surrendered to Japanese, we continued the guerrilla war against the Japanese, and now you want to come and rule us. Netherlands tried that in Indonesia, and United States sort of threatened to exclude Netherlands from the Marshall Plan, so they had to give in. Vietnam declared independence from France within few hours of Japanese surrender in 1945. France put up a stiff fight, but in 1954 they had the disastrous defeat at the Dien Bien Phu, and after that the Vietnam was divided into two sectors. US actually set the tone by releasing their only colony, making it independent in 1946. India, Pakistan, immediately followed by, in 47, immediately followed by Burma, Sri Lanka, Israel in 1948. But the war and the strife continued. When Korea became independent, the North and South Korea got divided, communist versus capitalist. In 1949, when the Chinese Revolution was complete, the People's Republic of China took the mainland, the communists, and Chiang Kai-shek's Kuomintang took Taiwan, which is still going on since 1949. Vietnam, the US's disastrous military intervention, that was going on for a long time, communist versus capitalist. In West Africa, France sort of said that whoever wants to be free will be free in 1958. They let Morocco go in 1946. In 58, they said we will do the foreign policy. By 1960, all Western African countries have become fairly independent. But you look at what is going on now. Niger, with the world's 7th largest uranium deposits, is literally in the hand of mercenaries, and we don't know who controls them. So it was very hard for these newly independent countries to toe their own line without going for one bloc or the other. I think India did it very successfully. In 1955, when the Bandung Conference happened, India co-sponsored it. In 1961, when this was formalized, the non-alignment movement under Tito in Belgrade, India was an integral part of that. And there was some signs, like in 1956 when Suez was nationalized by Egypt. United States didn't allow England or France to do any military intervention. But still these nations didn't want to depend upon the US, however freedom loving it was. India, I think, did it really successfully. Means it was a bit lean Soviet Russia, obviously, for many years. In 1961, when India annexed Goa, which was India's land, United States was monumentally miffed. But the foreign external affairs ministers of Russia just made a surprise visit to India, just a goodwill visit that day. But I think India has managed to stay independent. And if you look at going on, means there is no peace or prosperity anywhere. Amongst the countries that became independent, Vietnam is doing good now, but the memories of the Vietnam War are still casting long shadows over here in US and Western world. Indonesia is doing well, but there are some pockets where there could be religious extremism. There is Israel is doing really well, but they are so divided by their extremely polarizing internal strife that they will need to put their house together to vie for the world market. So looking at all these countries, I think the English speaking, firmly democratic, strong, and not only strong but a force for good. I think India has extremely bright future in upcoming years. Happy Independence Day to all my Indian friends.